welcome to the very last video in the AlphaBest series, the letter Z. We're at the end where I take 10, my favorite 10 games from each letter of the alphabet. Z is not the simplest of letters to do. There's a lot of games that start with the letter Z, but most of those have the word zombie somehow, and that actually does show up on my list to some degree. I don't have all these games in my collection, for sure. Only, I think, the top 3 have made my collection, but hey, those are some great games, and all these games are fun to some degree. Let's get into it. Number 10, actually, is one of the games that I actually still do have in my collection because it's a kid's game, and that's Zimbos. This is an animal stacking game, and probably the hobby game Animals by Animals is a better stacking game because that works well with adults and kids. Zimbos is big, fat, chunky animals, and this is great for kids with little stubby fingers and young kids, essentially. And the animals are cool and fun to play with, and I'm glad to play this when I have young children, which it seems like I always have some of them, so a lot of fun. Number 9 is Zen Garden. This is a tile game, not like Carcassonne, no. You're getting tiles and putting them next to each other, but you're doing so to build different patterns. And when you get the pattern, you will score a certain amount of points based on what pattern you have built. The goal is to build these different patterns with the tiles. Number 8 is Xerts. In my last list, I mentioned Yinch, which is the best of this series. Xerts is not the best of the series, in my opinion. A lot of people like it. A little too brainy for me, but I have to admit it's a good game. Essentially, you're jumping marbles over if possible, but you want to try to force your opponent to jump to then allow you to jump in a better way. Amazing components. I mean, when you look at this game, it just looks fantastic on the table. Heady and a solid game, just not one I want to play all the time. Number 7 is Zombie in My Pocket. This is based on another game called Airborne in My Pocket. It's called In My Pocket because the game fits in your pocket, which is kind of odd because there's a lot of games that fit in your pocket, but hey, you are slowly building the board, zombies show up, you are trying to get out of it. A simple game, but works well. Number 6 is Zombie Dice. Zombie Dice is surprisingly fun. I did not expect to like it. It's a simple concept of, hey, pull some dice, roll them, hey, I got some points. Do I want to keep pulling dice and rolling them and maybe lose? Or do I want to try to push my luck some? Very simple, push my luck. They made different variations of this that were non-zombie themed, but I think the zombie theme worked the best. It's one of the best zombie games out there, Zombie Dice. So there you go. Number, 5 is Zombies vs. Cheerleaders. If this had any other theme, I think I would like it even more. The whole cheerleader thing is like, whatever. All right, but it's a very cool asymmetrical card game in which one player has a bunch of zombies which are slowly coming towards the other person, and the other person's cheerleaders who are like fighting them off with all different sorts of weapons and things. And it seems like the cheerleaders might be easier to play and the zombie player can't make any mistakes, and there's a little bit of luck involved in the game, but it has a very distinctive feel to it. Zombies versus Cheerleaders. Number 4 is Zombicide Black Plague. I liked Zombicide okay when it came out, but Black Plague kind of elevated that some, if only because they fixed one of the major rules about shooting people that I was not real keen on. The component quality was even better. I mean, the first Zombicide was great. This one was much better with like trays, and I thought the medieval theme worked really well for this game. Not one that I still want to play all the time, but if I'm going to play a version of Zombicide, it's definitely Black Plague. Number 3 is a great game, Zoo Loretto. Zoo Loretto is a game about building zoos. It's based on a small card game called Coloretto, where you are essentially adding cards or taking a group of cards. Zoo Loretto, you're adding animals to a truck or taking that truck with all those animals. You want to have a lot of animals of the same type, not too many different ones. It's cool to build your own zoo, and at the same time, the central mechanism works well. Simple fun. One, the Spiel des Jahres, has a lot of expansions, which are not necessarily the base game's fine, but they do add variety. I like it. Still my collection, Zoo Loretto. Number 2, I'm cheating a little bit here, but Zing is my number 2. This is one of the English versions of the Sieben Siegel, or the Seven Seals was the original name of the game. The last version I know of was called Zing, so it qualifies for my list. This is a trick-taking game. And in this trick-taking game, you are predicting how many tricks you're going to take. I'm going to take 2 blue tricks, and I'm going to take a red trick. And you have to get that right. And you can, it's not as hard as you think. You can look at your cards and go, okay, I got some good cards here. I think these are the tricks I'm going to take. I love trick-taking games in general. This one is simple. and adds that fun complexity of trying to guess how many tricks, or you can be a spoiler and say, I'm going to try to mess people over this round. Works really well. Zing! And number 1, Zendo, which is going to be kickstarted by Looney Labs, I hear. Maybe later this year, early next year. So when that happens, you back it, because Zendo is an amazing game. Uses the Ice House Pyramids, which are a cool gaming component. And Zendo is a game in which you are trying to think logically as, hey, here's a bunch of pyramids. This fits my rule. Here's a bunch of pyramids. This does not fit my rule. And players have to slowly figure out, what's the rule? Is the rule that there's 1 blue pyramid laying down? Is the rule that there's exactly 2 red pyramids? Is the rule that there are 3 pyramids exactly in the whole configuration? Whatever the rule might be, players are slowly figuring that out. You can make the rule simple, or you can make the rule hard. It's best to keep it simple. As players guess it. I love this game. I love playing this kind of game in real life. There's various party game versions of this, like this word is a baddie, this word's not a baddie, which words are baddies. I like that idea, but this game takes it to a really cool level. Zendo. And now it's time to end the AlphaBest series. That's it. Ladies and gentlemen, what are your favorite games that start with the letter Z? Tell me in the comments below. Thanks for indulging me in this. I just thought it would be fun to go through the alphabet and do my top 10 favorite games. But we're not done. We're going to start another series where we take each year and what are the top 10 games from that year. See you next time. I'm Tom Vasel. You've been watching the AlphaBest series, which is now done. And this has been The Dice Tower.
Thanks so much for watching the Dice Tower videos. Find more great videos and reviews, as well as our top-rated audio podcast at Dicetower.com. You can also find other great shows at DicetowerNetwork.com. I'm Eric Summerer, and you've been watching The Dice Tower. The Dice Tower is sponsored by Cool Stuff Inc., where you can find great games for great prices. Cool stuff in stock. Check them out at CoolStuffInc.com.